everybody. Today I went to start up the boat for the first time since February. So yeah, it's been a few months. The boat started up the first try with no hesitation. It runs great, sounds good, and I decided to let it stay running for about 15 minutes or so to charge up the battery because it's been a few months. Went to the house, grabbed me something to drink, came back out. The boat was dead. Like, it wasn't running at all. And so it was kind of weird. I climbed back onto the boat, turned the key a few times. The first couple of times it acts like it's gonna restart again. And matter of fact, one time it turned over and it start. It runs about 5 seconds and it shuts off on me again. So I am thinking that we are having fuel delivery problem today. In order for a motor to run, you must have 3 elements. First, you must have good compression, and you must have spark, and then fuel. I highly doubt that my compression is bad because this is a fairly new motor. It's 2014 Mercury outboard 4-stroke 115 horse. And I also highly doubt that it's going to be spark, but I will not rule out those two. I suspect fuel delivery problem because 9 out of 10 times when you have problem with outboard, it's always fuel. So I decided that I'm going to make a video today, and I want to share with you guys how I go about finding out the problems and how I go about fixing it. All right, shall we? Okay guys, again, you're looking at 2014 Mercury outboard 4-stroke 115 horse. This is the high pressure fuel line, and you got your low pressure fuel line right here. This is where the fuel coming from the tank, and then it goes into a reservoir, and then from there it pressurized and it come out to this line and then into the motor. Okay guys, we are looking at the front of the motor right now. From the look of it, it looks like we're gonna have to remove this air box, and of course we're gonna remove that bolt right there holding the fuel module on. There's 2 of them. There's one here, there's one there, and there's also one on the bottom. I don't think you have to remove it all the way. The one on the bottom, all you gotta do is loosen it up, but you do have to remove this all the way, and then you can just kind of pull it upward and it will come out. And then you have your low pressure fuel line coming in here, as well as the high pressure fuel line coming in there, and wiring connector right here. So let's go to work. To remove this bolt, you need a 10mm socket, anytime you remove anything, just take a mental note of how everything goes together so that way you can put it back. So it looks like there's a hose here. That need to come out. And then you have your high pressure fuel line going in here, and low pressure fuel line going in here. And to remove it, all you gotta do is push into the clip and pull up on the hose. Now we need to take a little mental note when we remove this high pressure fuel line. If we see any fuel dripping out. Oh wow, do you guys see this? There's no fuel in here. Nothing. So with this found, I want to bet some of my money on the high pressure fuel pump. Inside a fuel module, you have two pumps. You have one low pressure pump and high pressure pump. The low pressure pump delivering fuel from the tank in the boat to the module, and then the high pressure pump will pressurize the fuel and it goes into this line. But I see no fuel coming out at all, so I want to bet some of my money on it, but I'm not going to rule out the low pressure side for now. Okay, so just pull up on it. Okay, there's another hose over here holding it on. Okay, so literally it only takes about 10 minutes to remove the whole module. Okay, next I'm going to remove this fuel module lid and see what it looks like on the inside. This is the high pressure pump, and that's the low pressure pump. And I'm suspecting the high pressure pump earlier, but after I open up the lid, it tells me otherwise. And here's what happened. Okay guys, I want to show you guys something. There's barely any fuel in here. Okay, so earlier when I removed the high pressure line, there wasn't any fuel in it, so I was quickly determined that it was the high pressure pump. But after removing the lid to this module, it tells me another story. So if the low pressure pump not delivering any fuel from the tank to this module, then eventually the high pressure pump will starve itself from no fuel. So therefore that explained why there wasn't any fuel in the high pressure line. So now I want to put all my money on the low pressure fuel pump and not the high pressure fuel pump. Alright, well, the next step we're gonna need to take is to remove all the wiring connector to the low pressure pump and test it out with a car battery. The way I test this is using a jumper wire and connect it to the car battery. And be careful not to touch these together while it's being connected in the car battery. And it's always a good idea to point this away from your face in case if any fuel inside doesn't spray you all over your face. There's a positive on this side and a negative on that side. So I want to put my red in here and black in there. Nothing. You guys see this? It does not spin. I now know my low pressure side pump is bad. And a lot of time you might want to reverse your polarity. Excuse me. Because sometime by reversing it, you might be able to loosen up the motor. Because it would spin the opposite way. Same thing. Nothing happened. So I now know this motor is bad. Just for the fun of it, I'm going to go ahead and test out the high pressure side as well, just to see if it turns over while I'm already at it, while it's already out and open. Okay, there's a negative and that's a positive. So I'm going to go ahead and put the positive there. You hear that? It's bone dry. There wasn't any fuel coming out of that nozzle. I'm going to reverse the polarity just to show you guys that if you probe it the wrong way, it also spins, but just backward. You hear that? I know my high pressure pump is working. Alright guys, let's go in there and order me a low pressure pump. So after a week of waiting, the new pump is here. I cannot believe it cost me almost $300 for this pump. Okay, so we have the new pump here. Look identical to the old pump. And I bet you anything right there, that's where it burned itself out. And it's melting the plastic. I'm not sure if it had a short in it or sometime the float stuck on a on position. Could be many possibility, who knows. Alright, so you got your old pump right here and a brand new pump. Look just identical. And it's always a good practice when you get your part that you compare it side by side, because you never know. I mean, the part guy, you know, will pull the wrong part for you, and then when you install it and it's not working, you have to open it back up and do the whole thing again. It's not fun. In this case, I think it's gonna be a perfect match. Alright, let's get this installed and see what happens. You know, just for fun, before I install this new pump, I just want to measure the resistance of the bad one versus the good one to see what the different are. And I know my positive is right here and my negative. So 0.8, if I move and go back to 1, That's a good one. Now let's try the bad one. Wow, that's a huge difference. 242. You know it's bad. Too much resistance. So that means the motor is burnt. Just for fun, guys. Alright, let's stop goofing around and get this thing installed and see if it starts. Okay guys, let's talk about how this thing is going back in. I was struggling bad putting this back into this unit here, and it just would not go no matter how much I pushed it. And I didn't want to push it so hard that I'll break something. I'll break a wire or something. But thankfully that I had this on video, so I had to went back inside, uploaded a video, check it out on my computer, and realized that I didn't have this pump in the right position. And let's talk about this a little bit. And also, this boot here was sitting inside the units. I went ahead and removed it from the housing or from the unit and install it in here first. And also earlier I had this pump turned the other way, so like this part here was back here and this was over here, and this pickup tubing, it's over here, and so that's why it didn't want to go in. See, if you look in here, you see how that plastic right there to my left, it had like 3 compartments. Well, if you don't turn it the correct way, it will not go in. And like I said, thankfully I had this on video, so now it's gonna go in really smooth because I had everything positioned the way it came out. Check this out. Look at that. No effort at all. That's just something that I want to share with y'all. Just make sure when you remove a unit like this that it goes in, and take a mental note how it came out, or even I'll get a marker, mark the pump position, you know, on both sides, so that way it goes in perfectly like this. It's all easy from here, guys. It's all play from here. And when you have a bunch of screw going in like this, you want to start it by hand, a couple of thread, and then tighten it down in a star pattern. So I start here, 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 so it goes in even. I'm gonna go get 2 zip tie. This hose here and that on the back, and maybe another one right here where it holds the wire together. It's important, guys, that we need to put everything back where it belongs. I almost put the low pressure side fuel line onto that vacuum hose right back there, but I sat back and think about it a little bit. I knew that my pump is sitting right here, so that has to go there. And then I knew my high side sitting right there, so that's the high side fuel line back there. So that has to go where it belongs. And then that one right there is coming from the motor. So I'm thinking that's a vacuum line. So just kind of check over to see if I got everything. There's that zip tie right there. That's tight. Everything's in its place. Oh, see what I mean? Push that one in. Everything's good. Everything's good. All right. Time to start up, see what happened. Okay, so what I really want to listen to is when I go to turn the keys on to start position, but not starting it, I want to listen to that pump, because the fuel module have no fuel in it. It should turn on longer than normal. You guys hear that? It's working. I can feel it vibrating right now. That's what you want to hear, because it have no fuel inside here. Usually when you go to cycle your keys, it will do a self check. It will turn it on for maybe 2 seconds and it shuts off. That right there, my friend, tells me the pump's working. It should have a little bit of hard start, maybe a few try, but after the high pressure side pump kicks in, it should work perfectly okay. Moment of truth. Got my water. Yes, sir. Kick it in gear, so that way it runs on all 4 cylinders. When it's sit at idle, it drops about 2 cylinders. I'm gonna go ahead and close the garage. folks, that's all for this episode. Thanks for watching. Until next time, and I'll see you out in the water.